Thanks for staying with Sunrise. The Jamaica National Water Adaptation Project aims to tackle the issue through the provision of an impactful and scalable model for greater efficiency in Jamaica. In particular, the project aims to enhance Jamaica's climate resilience through the use of water adaptation technology in the country's housing sector. At this time, we welcome the Honourable Pearnel Charles Jr. He's the Minister of Housing, Urban Renewal, Environment and Climate Change with responsibility for housing and water, as well as Cornelia Walters-Jones. She's the JN Foundation's project manager for the Water Project, to share some more about their initiatives. Good morning and welcome to Sunrise.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, Honourable Minister, we will start with you, because day in, day out, there are some communities that are really just lacking water. We hear about, places being built and not enough water is available. Give me an overview of what's really happening.
So let me start by saying, I was the minister with responsibility for water in the last tenure. This tenure, my responsibility is for housing, urban renewal, environment, and climate change. But what's important is that they're all connected.
Mm-hmm.
The thrust for us as a government is to pursue what we define as a National Adaptation Plan. And that plan includes the integration of sustainable practices such as those that are being focused on by the Water Project.
Mm-hmm.
We build up our capacity to respond to what we see as the impacts of climate change. Those longer droughts,
mm-hmm.
intense hurricanes, the kind of activity that causes us to have to stop and adjust. We hear this old saying that if you fail to prepare, you what? Prepare to fail.
Indeed.
Going to fail as a country, so we have to prepare ourselves. We have to adjust how we are thinking, how we behave, and put in place also the financing to put the infrastructure in, so that when these things occur, which we know science shows us, it establishes that these events are going to happen more frequently and in greater intensity. And so we have to put in place a structure to have a cohesive, inclusive, all of government, whole of society approach. And so let me say thank you to Cornelia and the JN team. We have to big them up. They're part of the element of this cohesive approach.
So you're saying we're now thinking long term. That's good.
We have no choice. We're better. We have to. The whole world is. But Jamaica is unique. We're a small, beautiful island surrounded by water, very vulnerable to some of the conditions, and we want to protect our assets, right? We want to protect.
Absolutely.
And so if we're going to do so, we have to link up with players in the market, corporate, individuals.
Mm-hmm. To come on board for the vision.
Exactly.
This is now a perfect time to now bring in Cornelia. So the Water Project, why did it come about, and what is this new guide that has been made public?
Jamaica National Foundation is always at the forefront of pioneering ideas, and the Water Project is actually funded through the PPCR and the IDB Bank. Okay. And JN Bank and JN Foundation are the implementing partners. As the minister said, there's a climate issue, and rightly so, as it relates to water. The project, what it does, it seeks to enhance the climate, enhance the water efficient technologies, bring light to the different type of water efficient technologies that can be installed in our homes when we're building them or when we're retrofitting these homes.
Indeed. So tell me a little bit about the guide now, and how can persons, use it while we are building?
Right. So the guide, what it does, it speaks to those different type of technologies that I just mentioned. There are actually 9 technologies.
Okay.
Yes. So for example, there's water efficient toilets, there's water efficient shower heads, mm-hmm. There's water efficient dishwashing machines, mm-hmm. washing machines, rainwater harvesting system, and greywater recycling system. And for those persons who has, lawns and pools, they're actually technologies, for leak detection and so on and so forth.
I think I want to stick a pin right at the water harvesting, because that's a very big thing. And of course, the summer months are coming up. In the guide, does it break down the size, what materials, like if it has to be a cemented frame or a drum? Tell me a little bit about that one.
Right. So what the guide does, it gives you it's a guideline, as it says, and so it speaks about costs. It speaks about our actuality, in Jamaica, what our actualities are in terms of, and placing these construction with policy and how, we have to make sure that they follow the policies.
Right. I see. And Minister, as she mentions policy there, what new policies do we have in the works or passed recently that speak directly to building codes and how housing and water come together?
Well, let me tell you, what we have is an update of our climate change policy, which is that circular framework for the country to advance a sustainable practice. When you speak about rainwater harvesting, the climate change division that went out and found the financing to pump into these projects so that we can advance in a very practical way, house by house, community by community, the sustainable projects and activities that are going to lead us to our goal, that Vision 2030 goal of having a Jamaica that can withstand the impact of climate change and respond to it proactively. Right, so we have the climate change, we have other policies that are going to be updated to really mandate our developers to make these things, even in the ingredients that they use for construction and in the practices that they're utilizing. We're working across the board with all sectors. As I said, Jamaica is a signatory to the United Nations Convention Framework on Climate Change, which gives us not just local but international obligations. Well, we are also chair for the NDC partnership, something which I'll have to come to you again to speak to you about. The fact is, as a country, we have done a lot of things in terms of becoming members of very important bodies, but now we're in pursuit of that cohesive approach, bringing in the other ministries, departments, agencies, and most importantly, when you speak about this guideline, we're not just doing policies, but we are also developing guidelines that will help ministries, departments, schools, churches, everyone to understand the value of the drop of water, to understand what they can do to protect themselves when it comes down to keeping their environment clean. All of these things are very, very well connected. We have a climate change advisory board. Nice. We have points across the government that are all coming together to help us advance these policies, and legislation is to come as well.
Absolutely, and of course, private sector and other individuals are playing a role. So Cornelia, back to you in terms of, the long-term vision for the water project. What will we see later on this year or even in the next 5 years?
The project is a 4-year project, and it is, it culminates in May. We are going to be ending with a big bang. May 3rd and May 13 and 14, we're going to be hosting our climate summit. And that summit, what it really does is, we are seeking to showcase the different types of climate smart solutions, whether it be residential or commercial. We want to showcase the different type of water adaptation businesses that are currently here. But more so, we want to provide an avenue for women and youth-led organizations, especially as it relates to climate resilience, and people who are actually doing something about it.
That is amazing. Remind our viewers where we can access the policy guide in terms of how we can adapt some of these new technologies for our homes.
Sure. You can visit waterprojectja.com, or we are on social media. All our JN Foundation handles, we're on social media in all spaces.
And then, Minister, as we look to close, if there's one thing you would like to tell all Jamaicans with regard to building better housing solutions where we're thinking about climate resilience, what would that be?
As I said before, we have to prepare and we have to think long term. Most of the spaces where we've seen devastation is because of the decisions that were made to do something now for today without thinking of how it would impact us later on. So as a country, the developers, the persons who are living and occupying the spaces, better decisions, the government too. And those things have to be done communicating with us, sharing information, sharing best practices, and making sure that as a complete unit, as one society, we appreciate the importance of building up our resilience. Those are the two important words. Jamaica must build up its resilience so that we can move towards the future and achieve our Vision 2030.
All right, a very powerful note to end on there. We were speaking with the Honourable Pearnel Charles Jr. as well as Cornelia Walters-Jones from the JN Foundation. She's in charge of the Water Project. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. All right, some valuable information was gained there as we all think about being more resilient. At this time, viewers, we're going to check in with the streets for our final look at traffic for the morning.